Here comes the Penn State blitz. Lots of room down the sideline. Eric All, the tight end. Will they catch him? No! Touchdown, Michigan!
And there it is. You just heard it on ABC. Just watched it. Now you hear it right now here on the TMBR post-game live. Jim Scarcelli, the former Wolverine, joining me, Dennis Fithian, as we get ready to get this thing underway. Scar, Jim, Michigan wins it 21-17. How about your initial thoughts on this one?
Denny, my heart's still pounding, man. We're fired up over here. It's a great, I would call it a program win because our players played outstanding. Our coaches had a great game plan. Our strength coach was good. Our trainer was good. Everybody was better, and we needed all of it to be good. But it's, maybe it was the yellow pants. I don't know what it was, but a lot of good things to talk about, man. A lot of people fired up. I would love to be on that plane coming home tonight. I'll tell you that.
Well, this is a bottom line business. They say it all the time. You end up on the scoreboard with more points, and everything throughout the game, makes you go back and you start feeling pretty good about yourself. I was having shades because of the 2-point conversion and being up 8 of Michigan State just a couple weeks ago. But Michigan pulling this one out. This was a game that feels like over the last couple of years that maybe they would have lost. And, here they are going on the road and winning it. So, and they needed to do that, to put themselves in position for the last 2 games after last year. And they've done that. However, they found a way there, even though in the fourth quarter, if you didn't like, Penn State coming back and tying it up, Michigan coming up, and Eric All, sometimes one play, one big play can make the difference. And certainly 47-yard touchdown, Eric All for his first score as a Michigan Wolverine, pretty big, and a guy that had been out, had a heck of a game there for Michigan. He'll never forget that one.
What's funny is Michigan fans, we know all about the crossing patterns, the dreaded crossing patterns, and the weakness of man-to-man coverage. Well, guess what? We were on the receiving end of man-to-man coverage and crossing patterns, and we caught him in the right defense. I thought Josh Gaddis had a great game plan. I thought he made great adjustments in the second half, but that touchdown with Alls was a crossing pattern. They got bumped. They bumped into each other, and it was a touchdown. But looking, when it became 14-14, if I'm coaching Michigan's defense, I am not beating up my defense because that kid threw 2 dimes. In both occasions, the guy was covered. Our safety was all over that big number 44. He tried to rip his arm out. He couldn't do it. And then the 2-point conversion was well covered. The quarterback threw a dime, but that quarterback, the law of averages, he's eventually going to make a mistake, and he did.
Well, you mentioned Josh Gaddis. When Michigan, when they turn the ball over, they go to 3 and out, they get the sack fumble, and then Penn State sets up shop there in the red zone, ends up kicking the field goal to go up 17-14. And there's 6 minutes to go there, and Michigan comes out. And, if you're ever going to say, hey, we're going to stick to our game plan, we're going to run when we have the numbers, they come out, they're playing smash mouth football down 3. And just giving it to Haskins because that's what it looked like the front dictated. And then, of course, they did hit the lightning bolt to All there, but that crossing route. But before that, it looked like I want to say content, but it looks like that was the plan. They say, hey, we can take Hassan Haskins down the field here with 6 minutes to go, get into at least field goal range and potentially into the red zone and score a touchdown and win this one.
I've talked about Jim Harbaugh. His foundational play is the power play, and sometimes they fall in love with it, and sometimes they get so stubborn with it. But that last drive, we got away from it a little bit, and we ran a little more of the tight end in motion and let him through. But the best thing I thought Josh Gaddis did, and I've been calling for this for the longest time, is people talk about our short yardage offense. We got pretty predictable in certain formations. Okay, in the second half, we started to give them. We brought it normally when you have tight end wing on one side of the line of scrimmage, we are really heavy running our power play to that side. And Gaddis brought a fullback away from the tight end wing, and we start running away from the tight end and wing, and we put their defense in conflict. And that's when we really started to shred them in the second half because it's amazing how just moving one guy over a little bit or bringing another guy into a formation, now the defense is guessing. Are they going to run power to the tight end wing? Are they going to run it away to where the fullback was? And it was a simple thing, but it really got us going to keep that drive alive. And that's coaching.
And that's Jim Scarcelli, the former Wolverine. If you're watching on YouTube, like David here says, great game, go blue, jumping right in there, sending a message. And, you know, in the end, when Michigan gets the win, however they did it, 21-17, and, you know, you're talking about it'll be a great plane ride home, that's for sure. And, you know, you're sitting there. This is what you hope for. You know, sure, you would hope to have a once-in-a-lifetime undefeated season, but when you still have an opportunity, they're sitting there. We know what the clownish college football rankings say, but you also know that you can take care. You like to control your own destiny. Sure, they need some help with Michigan State losing, but Maryland and then sitting there with Ohio State. I mean, if you tell me that Michigan wins the next two games, I'll tell you that's a great season, Jim.
Oh, outstanding! I mean, heck, let's again, Denny. Let's just take it one game at a time, and we can't worry about what some of these athletic directors are part of that committee. We can't worry about what they do. Let's just get ready to play a talented Maryland team and enjoy this win. And then we obviously know who's coming down the pike there. But I said going in, and we talked about it the other day. I said this defense will be the best defense we've seen all year. And I think they showed it. I mean, it was tough to run against. It was tough to pass against. Would you agree that was the best defense we've seen?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I thought so. I wonder, I'll take you back to the second quarter. There was a 4th and 2. You were talking about sometimes being predictable in those short yardage situations. It looked like that Penn State had the box stacked there, and they certainly looked like they were overplaying right to the side that they gave it to Haskins. That play never looked like it had an opportunity to work there. I wonder if they could have changed things up and either ran it the other way or had some kind of something off of that play, because they looked like they ran in right to where the defense was stacked in there. Did you get a good look at what they were doing? That was Michigan's second possession. You know, they started out on their own 12, and they got to a 4th and 2. They went for it, and Haskins got stuffed there. I wonder if they could have audibled out of that one. You know,
Denny, that's exactly what I was talking about, is that we're so predictable. You know, Penn State's coaches aren't stupid. They know what we do in that formation. And I've been saying it all year, we don't have enough stuff from that formation. You have to have your quarterback boot. You got to have boot passes away from that action. You've got to do some different things. And when that's probably the only play call I thought could have been better, was that one play call, because there was nothing else we could have ran based on that formation. So in the second half, he started to bring a fullback in away from the tight end wing, like I was saying, and it put the defense in conflict, and we start running away from it. That's why we were having success. It was the coaches that made the adjustment. And, listen, we are the first ones to start shredding our coaches for being predictable or not making good adjustments. But I'm going to applaud our offensive coaches, because that was you saw it exactly the way the whole stadium knew Michigan was running off tackle in that formation.
Yeah.
But good coaches make adjustments. They don't just keep beating their head into the ground and keep pounding at one certain, trying to run one play.
Michigan wins it 21-17. They're 9-1. This was a game where U of M trailed in this one after, leading at the half 7-6. They take the first drive down in the third quarter to take a 14-6 lead. But then you have a Penn State coming up. They make 3 fourth down conversions, a 4th and 2, a 4th and 4, and then a 4th and goal from the 2. They score a touchdown and get a 2-point conversion. That's why I was having a little bit of flashbacks to East Lansing, that, Michigan State was coming up big on some of those big downs too, some of those 4th downs, making some big plays. And of course, they got the 2-point conversions. But I saw Harbaugh on the field after the game saying, hey, these guys don't flinch. He's been saying that. That's been one of the things that he has said this year. But it's 17-14, and there's 6 minutes to go, and Michigan ends up getting the 47-yard touchdown to Eric All, 21-17. I'll take you all the way back, guards, to the first quarter. Sometimes, there's a lot of things to get into right there at the end. When you have a one-score game, the game's going back and forth. Of course, there's going to be plays that jump out. But this one, you really got to talk about Penn State right out of the gate. I mean, they go with a fake punt. Michigan calls a timeout, And I think that what they were saying is, look, let's watch the fake punt. They still went with the fake punt, and they were able to get it there. What did you see on that fake punt right out of the gate?
I had a problem with that adjustment too in that call. I'm like, okay, they got the ball on I think it was our 35-yard line, something like that. I'm like, I don't understand why we just didn't have our defense on the field, to tell you the truth, and just play a real vanilla zone defense with, I didn't understand why we had our punt return team on the field in that situation. So that's obviously I'm a after the fact analyst, which is easy. It's tough to make those calls ahead of time, but I would question why we didn't have our defense on the field. And I give them credit, though. I mean, but what that showed me was that James Franklin didn't have confidence in his football team. So that's what that was telling me early on, that he thought he was going to have to do those things. But again, if I'm coaching defense and I'm coaching Michigan there and our special teams, and their punter threw a dime, Denny. He threw a dime.
He did.
What are you going to do there? And then we get him down, we get him down in there again, and now his holder, he didn't throw a dime. So luckily the holder wasn't as good a thrower as the punter. But
yeah, I looked at that. You come down there in Michigan, clearly they're talking about, hey, look at the look here. They might go with a fake punt, but, so you credit them for executing and everything. But Michigan stands up, and they're able to. A lot of times, that's going to give you the momentum. You're on the road. Penn State's able to punch it in. You're like, wow, man, you really took a punch in the face there. But Michigan was able to limit them to a 42-yard field goal. Michigan's offense doesn't go anywhere. They come back. And they get down there for that fake field goal. Talk about, continuing to roll the dice there. I was looking for a fake field goal myself. And not only, they had it down there all the way inside the 5, when they're getting ready to snap that ball. And, the Michigan ends up getting great field position out of that, considering where they started it. And it was a, fake field goal. They ended up getting it on the 29. That was a big play for the game.
Yeah. But getting back to that punt real quick, though, if I'm coaching Michigan, the kid, we had him defended. I mean, he had to throw a real good pass, which he did. But the fake kick, I didn't really understand that, because it's normally if you got a good kicker, you just go ahead and kick it. And he does have a good kicker, but yeah, it probably would have been defended either way. But it was a huge play. It gave us good field position, and actually we did put it together and get a drive going and score after that. I do believe.
Well, they didn't know if the fake field goal. They went 3 and out, but when they got the ball the second time there, Michigan did. That's when they did put together. They hadn't had much. They went 15 plays and went 90 yards. That's when they picked up a 4th and 1. Let's go back here. We got a feedback coming in. Here's Kurt. 4th down defense is putrid. We have to get down. We have to get off the field. Well, you know what? That's what it came down to there at the end. Look. I think that, Kurt, what you're saying there, if Michigan doesn't end up winning this game, we're going back and we're talking about that drive and we're saying it was just like Michigan State. But the defense did have an opportunity there at the end. I don't know if you want to say to atone or anything else, but Penn State had 3.5 minutes to go, when they came out. Now, they took some shots down the field there where it seemed like whether it was the crossing routes, the middle of the field, that's where they were having some success. But they threw 2 go routes on Michigan. They had the look. It looked like they had man-to-man. Those are big plays if the quarterback puts it on the receiver. Neither pass there down the sideline, talking about Penn State's final drive there, where, Clifford, the 4th and 2, that was an uncatchable throw. I mean, Gray was right there with the coverage, but he didn't even give him a chance. And it was like that on the first down play, too. I thought down the sideline, he didn't give his receiver a chance either, talking about Penn State on their last drive.
Yeah, I didn't understand why he threw that ball out of bounds. But, people looking at it would say, yeah, why are you throwing the deep pass? But the defenses aren't stupid. They know you need 2 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards. They're gonna playing it. They're gonna really jump on your short routes, and they're gonna force you to throw deep. So, and you got to admire James Franklin at least having the courage to understand that. I mean, yeah, they're gonna. If he deflects your short yardage pass, then you're going to say they're going to be yelling at the coach. Well, you were predictable. You threw the short yardage pass. But anyway, I thought our offense. I thought our quarterback, Denny. I don't know if you want to get into talk. I thought our quarterback was outstanding. Made some really nice plays. The big one down to down to Alt that on that looked like a screen pass. We threw it down in the goal line, got us down in there close to set up, I guess it was our second score. But I thought our quarterback, again, was accurate, had very few uncatchable balls. The strip, I don't think our left tackle had his best game, and he's been pretty solid, and he went against a good player. Our guy Hayes there, he's played better, but he did go against a real good defensive end there. But, Haskins on the screen pass, so many plays that you can just see the guy's been around, getting that extra yard, just finding a way to keep those drives alive. Haskins was outstanding. Our quarterback was outstanding. So it was our backfield played pretty good.
Yeah, I thought that this was going to be a score in the 20s here. I think that, for me, for Cade McNamara, when you had it seemed a little bit feast or famine for him. When Michigan scored their first touchdown, their first drive in the second quarter, they converted a fourth down with Haskins there. He hit the strike. I mean, that was a great pass to Roman Wilson, 21 yards. I mean, he put it right where you want it. That was a great drive, 15 plays, 90 yards. And then the one you talked about where he threw that pass to All, I'm with you. I thought that was the best pass that he threw all day. He also hit Wilson in that drive as well, and Haskins had some good runs. And then, it's pretty predictable that you're down on the 1 yard line. I would have bet everything that I had that Michigan was just going to pound it in there to Haskins. Instead, they went for the pass, and he found Roman Wilson. Those two drives right there, if I'm just taking a look at those drives right there, it was everything I like about Cade McNamara. He's down there. He's slinging the ball sidearm. He's throwing it, the crossing routes. He's hitting his receivers there. Now, there were a lot of 3 and outs on some other drives and some other passes there where you're thinking, and you don't expect them to, score on every drive, but a little bit of feast of famine. But when you get it done and All, I don't know, he gave him the ball. They ended up getting 47 yards. They get a touchdown there. In the end, I'll give him a passing grade. I think that's for sure. Does he have enough if you need to? I mean, this is fantastic game. Does Michigan have enough with Cade McNamara in a passing game if they're going to get in a shootout with Ohio State? I know you wanted to just take the one game at a time next week with Maryland, but just if you had to think about it for a second, do you think Michigan can get in a shootout with Ohio State?
Denny, we got to put more on our receivers too, though. I mean, I think we got to look at it as a whole offense. Our receivers have got to get separation. I mean, you look at the touchdown. That ball is a dime. There's hardly any separation to Roman Wilson in almost in both of those situations. So I think our receivers have got to get more separation. We got to do great play. Yes, but I'm a believer in McNamara. To answer your question, yes, I'm a believer in him. We got to keep having great scheme. Our receivers need to get some more separation. We got to keep putting defenses in conflict like we did and how we adjusted in the second half. But listen, we're gonna still have our power run game, and Jim believes in it. And it's just not gonna be on one guy. But I definitely think he is good enough to beat anybody we play the rest of the year.
There you see Kurt's response on the screen saying he'd agreed that Cade has come on as of late. Kurt saying he's surprised that we didn't see J.J. McCarthy in this game. And, I'm glad this is nothing. In fact, I love J.J. McCarthy. We got to this point here in the season where Jim Harbaugh was putting in J.J. McCarthy in big-time games, in tie games on the road against Michigan State, and a 3-point lead against Michigan State. I mean, you were talking about the value of being able to get a snap like that and what it could mean for a guy. I thought heading into this game, at this point with a 3-game season, I wouldn't have messed around with the quarterback rotation or anything else, and seeing what was going on, unless it was an emergency type deal. And for me, it was like you say, it's saying, look at Cade, you got to this point. It's you. We're depending on you. You don't have to look over your shoulder, the rest of the line or anything else. They were back to full strength. The offensive line, they got 2 guys back on the inside last week, and then you're saying, look, he's our guy. We're going to go with him. They wrote Haskins. What do you have? Over 30 carries, and then the same thing with Cade. They went with him the whole time, and I wasn't surprised. I'm glad that he made that move, and it's nothing against McCarthy. It's just this time of the season where it's like, let's go. What'd you think, Jim?
Denny, I'm gonna be honest, and people might think I'm crazy, but the one thing that I would consider, even in a game like this, using JJ McCarthy for, would be those 3rd and 2 situations where you want to give him the run pass threat. And it definitely would give me more problems as a defensive coordinator, to have to deal with that, to have to worry about that. Because there were a couple times in this game today where Penn State knows when we do our zone read, we put the ball in the gut of the back, and they know we don't have quarterback keep off of that action when he's in the game. We've only run it a couple times all year. But with McCarthy in the game, that slows the whole backside down. So to answer your question, I totally understand not playing him, but I could also understand the argument of using him in 3rd and 2 situations to put the defense in a little more conflict from a run pass situation.
All right, Michigan with this game right here, you're sitting. I'm looking at another message that just came through here. It's from KTJ, who does not like Josh Gaddis at all. He did not like the game plan. I'll tell you, if you took the thousands of, I'll say tweets, or if you looked on the Wolverine Dead message board on TMBR when the game is over, there was a lot being said about the play calling, about Josh Gaddis, about Kate McNamara, and all of that. And when you feel like maybe you leave some points out there, or then you see Penn State come back and take the lead, and it looks like you're going to lose. I mean, there's going to be a lot of that, but there at the end, Michigan making the plays. It felt like this was a game to me that. Again, not every time, but there've been a few games like this over the past few years that it felt like Michigan would have lost this game. And hey, here they are. They came out and they won it. So,
Denny, I'll tell you something that we need to see more of. We need, the big 3rd down conversion Cornelius Johnson had was like 3rd and 17. He made the corner miss. He went outside. We need more plays like that from our receivers to help our quarterback. To help our play caller. Because everybody looks great when our receivers make plays. So when I look at our offense, I would like to see more separation, more guys making people miss in space. Donovan Edwards is close. He still doesn't seem comfortable in there. But when he makes that one linebacker, that first guy miss, he's gone. Opposed to Haskins. But he only got a couple snaps. It was good. It's just good to know we have 2 though. We do have a backup. Running back.
When Michigan came out in the 3rd quarter, it was 7-6 at the half. Michigan came out and they took their first series, and so I wasn't sitting around saying, "Oh yeah, Josh Gaddis has called a great game." With Michigan up 7-6 at the half. I mean, here it is. It's a 1-point game. But I tell you what, the 9-play, 75-yard drive to start out the 3rd quarter with the 1-yard pass to Roman Wilson at the end for Michigan taking the 14-6 lead. I think sometimes a lot too much can be made of halftime adjustments or whatever else, game planning, but whatever they did there and their plan to attack in the 3rd quarter looked pretty good. To your point, Scar, there was Michigan's 3rd possession of the 3rd quarter. It came after Penn State missed that 43-yard field goal. There was a 3rd and 11, and McNamara ended up throwing it short to Cornelius Johnson, who probably threw it 4 or 5 yards short of the 3rd down. Yeah, I would like to get a better depth on that route where he has a chance. I know that they're playing it that way, and that's probably his one release valve there. But I thought Dan Orlovsky, who I'm not the biggest fan of, I thought he had a good game himself. On that play, he said, look, if you wait one more second and you hold everybody with Cornelius Johnson, you look over and you saw all right there that he could have popped it in a hole there, and they would have been able to get the first down. I think when they go back, those are the kind of plays, like if we're talking about, I know if you don't want to jump ahead to Ohio State, those are the kind of plays that you're going to need to make against Maryland on the road. And, oh, yeah, you are going to have to, if you want to beat Ohio State, make those kind of plays and give yourself a new set of downs.
I heard what he said. It'd be interesting if he waited that extra second and he gets sacked. Then what's big? Dan's really good after the fact. He is outstanding after the fact. He's the best. Okay, and let me say this about a guy who played defense. I like the fact. See, people will criticize our quarterback or our play caller, but we didn't turn the ball over again, right, Danny? No turnovers?
No, we had I think we did have a turnover.
You know how great that is for a guy.
We had a turnover, we had a strip sack there at the end.
I'm sorry, we did have one down in there, and that was on. Yeah, we did. Okay, well, that wasn't so much on our play caller or our quarterback, but look, I don't want our quarterback being a high risk guy if we have a lead, if we think our defense is better and we think our offense is better. I totally understand that, looking at that play, he dumped it off, but that would have been a high-risk pass to try to dime it in there on the play that he's talking about. But, I think they have McNamara understanding and Jim has them understanding. Look, we're not going to be a high-risk team at times trying to make these difficult throws if we don't have to.
Yeah, and, in football and really in all sports, when it comes down to it, there's a lot of plays to look back at, and when you're in crunch time and you're in the fourth quarter of a football game, making the plays late, those get magnified. And Michigan was able to come up after Penn State. Michigan was able to, come back and get that touchdown to all. I mean, look at there's 6 minutes to go and it's 17-14. I don't know, Scar, you're sitting there thinking, oh yeah, Michigan's got this one. We're all set, here, because I'm watching and they came out running the ball. I thought, man, they're going to smash mouth. They're going to pound and ground this ball right down to the end. That they're confident that they can line up and run the ball, even though they hadn't really had much success all game long. 6 minutes to go, down 3. I think they had the confidence that they were going to be able to just, move it down the field on the ground. Now, hey, nothing like a little short pass that goes 47 yards for a touchdown.
Yeah, that was. Again, their defensive coach, I was watching what he was doing, and he he's mixing it up. Sometimes he's playing pass, sometimes he's playing run, and he was, putting our offense in tough situations at times, and we obviously caught him there. But, Danny, I tell you, I want to talk about our defense for a second. We talked about – I thought Hutchinson did a lot of good things. Sometimes he irritates me because he goes inside on these tackles on pass rush so many times, and then the quarterback got outside one time, and one time he went inside, and the running back got outside. But I think they've given him a two-way go, and understanding that there is a downside of going inside of an offensive tackle. When I played, I was not allowed to rush inside of a tackle unless the scheme dictated it. And I think they've given him a two-way go. I mean, I think he had 2 penalties that were caused because of him again. But it was disturbing, and this is football sometimes, Danny. We had 2 strips. We stripped their guy twice, no turnover. They strip our guy once, and they get the ball. But one time we were caught looking at the sideline, looking at the coach, and we weren't lined up, and they easily converted a third down. But I talked about stopping the quarterback run. They ran it once or twice in there, and we did a pretty good job of stopping that quarterback run, because that was something Rutgers got us on, and I was worried about it with Penn State.
Yeah, I think defensively, for me, it's the same thing. Ajabo and Hutchinson, if you can rush the quarterback, if you can get to the quarterback and make plays, that's going to be huge. And with any kind of defense, especially one that on an offense that wants to pass the ball a lot. And we know that the next 2 teams that Michigan's going to see, both Maryland and Ohio State, they're going to want to put the ball up a lot. And, having Ajabo and Hutchinson, you can deal with one, but I don't know. Game planning for 2 of those guys has to be difficult. I think both guys on the inside I have liked this year. Jeter was in there a lot. They do a rotation. You see Mike McDonald likes to do that. There was a point in the first half where, again, it was Dan Orlovsky who was talking about maybe the tempo. Maybe this is Michigan's getting a little confused here. They're having some problems, but to keep them down to the 17 points. The tough part was the drive there in the third quarter where Penn State comes out and, it's 14-6 going into the fourth quarter. Michigan goes 3 and out on their first offensive possession in the fourth quarter. And then Penn State converts 3 fourth downs and they get the 2-point conversion. That was a tough one to take. The other team's going to make some plays, but, you're thinking 3 times there, man. Those are gigantic plays. If they make one of those, you're feeling like the game's likely going to be in the bag there. Instead, it was extended and they had to come up with some more heroics after that. But Yeah. What about that drive right there, Scar? Going back to
it. Look. I get it. I've been in that situation like those guys, and it would have been discouraging. And I don't know that I can look at, our play calling and what we did. Our scheme was our scheme. He mixes it up. Look, Coach McDonald mixes it up. He's not sitting in one thing every time. So, when people say, oh, why are you in that defense, or they're beating you with this, they're beating you with that. Look, if you beat us one time in something, you might not beat us the next time you try to run it again, because he's gonna be in something totally different. So when I looked at that drive, I looked at what we were doing defensively, and they were, sometimes they got good players too, and sometimes their coaches and players execute too, and we can't just beat up our team when the other team makes good plays. Because like I said, the touchdown and the 2-point conversion, those were well thrown balls, and a lot of things they did in that last drive were good. There was only a couple times all game I thought Dan Orlovsky was totally wrong about that. I think we were only confused one time where it really cost us. There were a couple times we maybe didn't get lined up exactly how we wanted, but we always seemed to get lined up eventually by the time the ball was snapped. So I thought we made improvements in that area. But yeah, it was discouraging that drive. We didn't know what was going to happen, and then the strip. Yeah, it was a gut check, man, and our kids responded. So we should feel good about the way our kids mentally, both sides of the ball, won that game for us.
Yeah, let's point. We've talked about Cade McNamara. We've talked about Hassan Haskins, and Haskins put in a lot of work in the second half. They were really bottling him up in the first half, but he made some tough runs in the second half in this game. A couple other guys that stood out to me, he's a true freshman corner, Rod Moore. When it came down to, it was the 3rd and 2 on Penn State's last drive, Jahan Dotson, the one that he got injured on, Rod Moore came up and blasted him. And, part of that, putting a guy in a crunch like that, you have to watch where your helmet's at. You have to watch that you're not, the receiver's not defenseless there. He kind of went in, instead of ducking, just kind of went in and almost, pancaked him like with his chest there, which was fantastic. And, that was a huge play. I like that one. On the 4th down, Vincent Gray, even though Clifford didn't give his receiver a chance on that go route, Vincent Gray was in that receiver's back pocket, and, he had some pretty good coverage. Remember, they were down their starting corner, Jamon Green. So, you had to go with DJ Turner, and then, that's why a true freshman is out there in Rod Moore. I thought they did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I tell you look at some teams that always seem to have the helmet-to-helmet stuff and the late hits, and I think Michigan coaches do a pretty good job with that, because we really haven't seen a lot of it. I got to believe they're doing a lot in practice to coach, where are you supposed to hit these guys? When you see certain things over and over and over again with certain teams, it's not by coincidence. And when you see things that aren't happening with certain teams, I don't think it's coincidence. So I would give our coaches a lot of credit and our players for taking the coaching. But I'll tell you some guys, Denny, I thought were real good. They don't get a lot of snaps, but Jeter, 95, he got in there, made a nice play. He's a solid backup, can give those starters some depth. Welchoff, 96. I like him. The kid from Germany, he's got in there. He's gotten better.
Welchoff.
That's how last year he hardly played. This year he obviously is doing some good things. It was good to see. I was happy to see those guys. The freshman 25 is in there. Colson.
Yeah, Junior Colson.
Yeah, Colson. He's a physical, tough, athletic kid, but he still sometimes takes on with the wrong shoulder. There was another big run in there that if he would have been, he just hasn't played enough. He'll get there. James Ross isn't making those mistakes. Guys that have been around, but he's a kid with a ton of potential. But he's just got to play more. But there was a lot of young guys that did some good things in there.
I'm looking at some of the notes coming out from the press conference in Happy Valley. Angelique Shengelis from the Detroit News is tweeting out that Eric All said he practiced all week, but his ankle was hurting and was 80%. Said it was sore this morning. Said he went through pregame warmups and the adrenaline took over. Good for Michigan and good for the adrenaline against, a sore ankle and, thinking about, hey, he could have been a late scratch, and who knows what would have happened in this game if they didn't have all.
I know what that's like, going all week, feeling beat up, busted up. You don't think you can eat, hardly get your shoes on in the morning. And you come Saturday in front of 100,000 people, and all of that goes away. You're just, all that pain goes away. That was he had an outstanding game. That was good to see him back in the lineup.
Well, and here's a couple easy ones for you as we just point out some of the guys that had good games. A guy that had busted up his wrist earlier in the season has been slowly coming back, and you saw late in the game against Indiana, it seemed like they were forcing a couple balls to him so he could get going, and that's Roman Wilson. And Roman Wilson, he's not the biggest guy, Scar, but he gets the 21-yard pass in the second quarter. He gets the start of the third quarter. He ends up catching that one from just right down there at the end, 1-yard touchdown. It goes down, but that was that's a heck of a game from a guy who is dealing with a big time wrist injury, and they don't have Roman Wilson today. They might not have a W.
Yeah, he's been great out of Hawaii. He's a speed and space guy who is in his second year, and he's gotten better. He's a good blocker. He does all the little things. And Denny, let me say this to you: there's not a guy who played in that football game today who doesn't have dings and bruises and jam fingers and sore shoulder. Everybody's got problems this time of year, and he's just sucking it up like everybody else. And he was outstanding. He's got to keep getting better. But yeah, he's been good. I like the way he blocks. He gets in there, he sticks his face in there, and he's solid.
Let me hear what you thought of Hassan Haskins. He ends up last week, I think the 27 carries was a career high. Today he goes over 31 carries for 156. Michigan at the half had just had 46 rushing yards for their team. So it's a big second half for Hassan Haskins. I really thought, their touchdown drive that came out, the first series they had in the third quarter, that was Haskins, the all pass that we talked about that got him down there. Roman Wilson hauled one in as well. But, Hassan Haskins also, had a couple catches as well. That's a heck of a game from a guy who knows, to your point, I don't think Donovan Edwards was 100%, but they needed him to come in and just do what he could do for a couple carries. But you're getting over 30 carries as a running back. I mean, that is a tough workload, and to go for 156 like Haskins did, like I said on the last drive that ultimately they got the wasn't the last drive, the touchdown drive, the 47-yard all TD. It looked like they were just content to go ground and pound with Haskins. That's how much confidence they had in their offensive line and in number 25.
I tell you, he's outstanding. He's smart, and Mike, you can tell Michael Hart coaches him. He gets the extra yard. He doesn't make the dumb. He understands his limitations. He's not trying to break it outside. He's going to take it inside. And I've been to practice many times since I got done playing, and when you go to a Michigan practice, they're always going to have yard markers. They're going to know where the down and distance is, and you can tell that our running backs know the down and distance. And they're not going to take a chance bouncing it outside. So he does a great job of understanding, hey, get that extra yard, fall forward. And you know what we did? I don't know if this was determined, but if you have to understand our power play and how important that is to Michigan football and how we like to run it. But we did have some success where they were overplaying so much the point of attack to the tight end wing side that he was cutting it back, way back behind the center and finding a seam. And that comes with being a smart running back. And maybe the coaches upstairs were seeing that, telling them to look for it. But, yeah, I can't say enough about the kid. You could tell he was a former linebacker. He was recruited as a linebacker, too, and played linebacker. You could tell he's a tough kid. Yeah,
well, he's one of those guys that not only was a linebacker that came in, but really an unheralded recruit. His speed, I think, 4.7, and he ran that one against Indiana last week. You could tell that he's worked on his speed there because he looked better than a 4.7 guy. But he's got a herky-jerky type of running style, which and there's been a couple runs. He didn't necessarily have any of those today, but there's been a couple One was against Northwestern, one against Indiana, where he just gets down there and, the other team has him surrounded, but they don't have him on the ground. He just churns his legs and somehow finds another 5, 10, 12 yards in there. We've seen that a few times from him, and he can catch the ball, which is good. He's one of these guys that, this could be his last year. He could play another year if he wanted to, but he's I say come into his own. I mean, he's a star now. I mean, he's a legitimate star, and if Michigan does win these next 2 games, I think Haskins is going to be, he'll be one of their top 3 players.
Yeah, he just looks like a great leader too. He looks like a real team guy when I watch the way he interacts with his teammates. Let me say this too, Danny, because I know people are want to beat up the play calling, and I look at scheme when I watch what we do. I like to see how are we executing. What are we doing to put the defense in conflict? Blah blah blah. Right? We ran a formation today we haven't run all year. Penn State did not align properly to it, and we converted on we got a first down out of it. It was an unbalanced formation. We had 5 guys on the line of scrimmage to one side of the ball. I didn't hear Dan Orlowski talk about it because he didn't see those things. Okay, he just talks about quarterback play. He doesn't understand why we converted. He didn't understand why Penn State didn't line up properly and why we ripped them and converted a first down. I saw it because I'm a former defensive coach and I know how much problems, formations and things that I haven't seen give me, how much trouble they give me. But I'm going to give Josh credit. They ran an unbalanced formation, converted a first down. Penn State did not line up properly, and that was a coaching advantage for Michigan. And it comes down to 1 or 2 plays sometimes, Who gets the advantage? Who's adjusting better? Who puts their players in better position to run their offense, to stop them on defense. And that's why I call it a program win, because I saw everybody from Michigan was better than Penn State today.
Yeah, and there was a lot of consternation about the quarterback in the end. Like, if you didn't watch this game and somebody says, well, how did Cade do? And they look and they say 19 of 29, 217 yards and 3 touchdowns. You'd say, well, what's everybody complaining about? Well, he got he got the big lightning strike at the end, the big touchdown there to all, and there were some 3 and outs late. I think there's some things like, that you might want to see better from the quarterback. But, Scar, you get a win here, and you're feeling pretty good if you're a Michigan fan on the outside looking in about their chances against Maryland. And then really, there was, if we take last year, they didn't play Ohio State, so you just throw that game out the window. There were 3 times in those 5 years that going into the last game that Michigan, and 2 of the times, they needed help that first year in 2015. But in 2016, the triple overtime game, they win that one. They're going to Indy. 2 years ago, the one where they lost, 62 points they gave up. They also, they win that one. They're going to Indianapolis, and they didn't. So they get a chance here. If things fall for them, I mean, that's what you're hoping for here as a Michigan fan over these next 2 weeks, that you go into that final game against Ohio State, November 27th. That is Thanksgiving weekend. You'll have Thanksgiving, you'll have Black Friday, then you'll have Michigan, Ohio State. And there's I'm going to say a pretty good chance right now that Michigan's going to go into that game and have a shot to go to Indianapolis. What do you think about that?
Well, of course, I think Maryland I thought that Maryland's quarterback was the best in the conference when I saw him the first game against West Virginia. I'm like, we got to deal with these guys. This kid looks good, but he's been a roller coaster. So I don't know what we're going to see, which quarterback we're going to see next week, but it's definitely a game we got to focus on. Coach Harbaugh will have them ready to go. But, hey, Ohio State, I think our defense, I said it going into this Penn State game, Danny, a couple days ago to you, that our defense is designed better to stop the Penn State stuff. It's designed better to stop their run, and I'm really high on what we're doing defensively. But I feel good about our chances against Ohio State. I don't think they have the run game that they've had in the past. They got outstanding receivers. The quarterback is inconsistent. Let's hope he has a below-average game against us. Their defense has great athletes. I'm going to say this, Denny. I think, and I'm hoping, that they have great players on defense. They have great players. They got 8 guys. They rotate on the D-line. They might be lions led by lambs on defense. I hope I'm right. I don't know for sure. They got Lions leading Lions on offense. They got great players and they got good coaches on offense. I don't know. I'm just what I've been watching. I've been seeing them all year, and I'm hoping we can outcoach them on that side of the ball and put them in give them problems. But I feel good about it. You know, we're a confident team. We're on that plane now. I know what it is to be on a plane ride like that, and there's some happy guys and feeling good about things and, getting ready to get after these last couple weeks.
All right, I got a final two questions for you. First, I was give people a quick update that are watching this live. If you're watching this on a replay, know this, that 10 minutes after every Michigan football and basketball game, we're here talking about them. So it's a great outlet for you if you want some Michigan football or basketball talk. Ohio State, they have started out the second quarter 21-7. The Buckeyes are up on the Boilermakers. The Spoilermakers looking for three big wins against top five teams. They did it to Michigan State, and they did it to Iowa. They'll have to make up some ground if they want to beat the Buckeyes. They're in the first quarter up in East Lansing. Michigan State has the 7-0 lead on Maryland. All right, Scar, before I ask you about, I've put it there on the bottom of the screen that you're a linebacker from Michigan. There's some news regarding that one I want to get to, but I want to know if you just have any final thoughts about this game. Michigan ends up winning this one 21-7. They come out, they get down 3-0, but then they take the 7-3 lead. Penn State comes back and makes it a 1-point game at the half. Michigan takes the first drive of the third quarter and makes it 14-6. And as we know now, the fourth quarter, Penn State is able to convert 3 fourth downs, including a 4th and 2 from the goal line, and they're able to convert that and get a 2-point conversion to tie the thing up. They get a strip sack on the very next series, end up getting a short 31-yard field goal to take the lead, and there's 6 minutes to go, and Michigan's down for the first time since they trailed 3-0, but they're able to get the 47-yard touchdown to all 21-17. And then with 3.5 to go, Penn State gets the ball back, and Michigan's able to get a 4-and-out there, a 3-and-out, and then they go for it on fourth down, and it didn't work, and the Wolverines come away with the victory. 21-17. They're now 9-1 on the year with Maryland and then Ohio State left in the regular season. So as I talk there, what's running through your mind about this victory today?
Danny, I coached a long time, and there's certain teams that we had a good belief that if we got them down, they would quit. We get them down a touchdown or two, they would quit. Well, let me tell you, that Michigan team, we got, we were up and down. We were up, then we were down, and a big crowd, everybody's yelling. And you know what? We didn't blink, man. So we're a confident bunch. We are we got courageous guys on that team that are going to find a way. There ain't nobody on that team has any quitting them. And I think that starts from the top with Coach Harbaugh. And he made a great call on that. That we didn't talk special teams really, Denny, but special teams were somewhat of a factor. We down that punt on the 1-yard line. He got into the face of the referee. They took another look, and we got the call. And we made a mistake on that. We ran into our punt return guy one time. But Denny, I look at that team. This team is confident as heck. They know they can come back and win. So they've got everything you want. Mental, physical toughness, believing and knowing they can win if they're down and not being phased.
Jim Scarcelli, you played linebacker at Michigan coming out of Warren there in the early to mid 80s. Michigan, they have a linebacker award. It's named after Roger Zatkoff, and Zatkoff, who's from Hamtramck, where my dad was born, and then he lived in Redford, right outside the city of Detroit, where my mom lives now. The linebacker award is named after Zatkoff. Very successful in business after he was done. He's a great story to read about. I think he got a scholarship from the Michigan Club of Greater Detroit, if that's right. Then he ended up paying him back when he was done. What a guy. Every time anybody that's ever told me a story about Roger Zatkoff, they never say anything about but how much they admired him. He ended up having an excellent pro career. He was part of the last the last Lions championship in 1957. So he made his name for himself in pro football as well and in business. So As a former linebacker, who's the award is named after Roger Zatkoff, his passing last week. I wanted to know if you had any words or if you had a story or not about Roger Zatkoff.
You know, every Michigan player, I would guess from the 70s on through to, I'm guessing the 90s. I don't know how far it went, but we have our annual bust at the end of the year. Okay, you'll have 1,000 people there, and midway through the dinner, there'd be a big guy that had a big old cowbell, and he would start banging on that cowbell, running through the audience, collecting money for scholarship funds. And that was Roger Zatkoff. And I know he did a lot to help guys get jobs after they graduated. I know some guys that worked for him. So the guy was just true Michigan, doing anything he could to help Michigan, help the school in any way that he could. And he's definitely a proud Michigan man. And to name that award after him was well deserved, and it's a great honor to have received that award. I didn't get it, but he's a proud Michigan man, and hate to see him go.
Yeah, he lived into his 90s. Condolences to the Zatkoff family and all of his family and friends. Thanks for that, Scar. And a little bonus tonight, we're going to watch basketball. We're going to come back and talk about the Hoops team tonight. How about that?
We got more Michigan, baby.
We do. Thanks for watching. We'll be here after every football game. And, yeah, a little double today as 10 minutes after the basketball game tonight against Prairie View A&M. We'll be here and talk about that. All right, Scar, thanks very much. We will see you in a while.
Okay, Benny.